All right, welcome everyone to our webinar today. My name is Kevin Vogel. I'm with Champion Solutions Group. I'm here with Chris Pyle. Hey, Chris.
Hey, Kevin. How's it going?
Good, good. Just a little housekeeping. We have Patrick manning the questions. So if you guys have a question while we're doing the webinar, please put it in the question box. Patrick will be answering them as quickly as he can as we go. You're there, right, Patrick?
I'm here and ready.
Okay. There he is. Okay. So we'll kick this off. So thanks everyone for coming. We're going to be talking about desktop as a service. And as you probably know, one of the hottest topics out there in the web today. So we'll just get right into this. So here we go. Here's the subjects we're going to be covering. So what is VDI, first of all, and then why should I use virtual desktops compared to the traditional desktops that you're used to? We're going to go through some of the pros and cons of virtual desktop. We're going to go through personalization of your VDI and how it works. We're going to talk about how you connect into the cloud and how VDI works. And then why do it now? Why wait until this time frame? And then who are the leading vendors out there that offer VDI? Should you outsource your VDI? Should you do it as a service where someone manages everything? Or should you do a hybrid where you're doing some and the cloud is doing some of it? We're going to go through a really complete demo, and that's where we're going to spend most of our time today. And then we're going to talk about next steps.
Excellent, excellent. I know some of the basics we're going to really blow through because I know a lot of you IT professionals out there already know what a VDI is, but we want to take it just from a quick slide. It won't be but a 30 seconds on that piece. But we got a couple questions for the audience. Do we do that right now?
Yeah, let's do that. So here we go. I'm going to got a couple poll questions here for you. The first one is, have you ever deployed, whoops, here we go. Have you ever deployed virtual desktops or virtual applications before?
So it'd just be really interesting to see what the crowd is, and how you guys have been doing this here. So just give it another couple seconds here. A couple more people are answering here, Kevin.
Right, we're about 60% of the people answering so far, and it looks like 2/3 of the people have done some type of virtualization, whether it be the desktop or the application. So we're going to close that down. It came out to 65%, 35%.
Excellent. Well, that's great to know. Thank you, everybody. So 65% of the people have deployed that. Okay, great.
All right. Second one is, do you support remote users?
That's a good question just to figure out, because we know there's a big opportunity for remote desktops and that. So with 50% voted so far, it looks like 100% yes there.
So most people, it looks like 94, 95% are going to do that. So just a couple more seconds here.
Okay, why don't we jump on? So 94% of you said yes, you support remote users. Okay, great.
Okay, here we go. Are you looking at virtual desktops as a way to upgrade to Windows 10?
Yeah, that's really interesting. We're seeing a lot of people who, with the deployment, with this sunset of Windows 7, they're considering VDI for Windows 10.
And you can see we also put down there as part of the upgrade. We know that virtual desktops usually isn't 100% of anyone's environment. So, if this is one of the ways you're looking at it, it really can support some of that older equipment out there that won't support Windows 10.
Yeah, exactly. So let's just give it a couple more seconds here. This one's really interesting here. We got 53% said no, 32% yeah, as part of the upgrade, we are looking at it for Windows 10. And 15% absolutely yes. So thank you for contributing there. Hopefully you find that useful as well.
And the last question that we have here is, are you looking at virtual desktops as part of your disaster recovery plan?
Very good point. We have a lot of people that have looked at that and saying, yes, it's a great way to do that. So it's interesting. So, man, almost look at that.
It's pretty much 50-50.
Pretty much 50-50. That's really interesting from that perspective out there with 60% counted unvoted. Yeah, wow, that's interesting. I didn't think it would be that evenly split. So just a couple more seconds here, and we are at 59% no, 41% yes. So great. Thank you guys very much. I think hopefully that's helpful for all of you out there as well who are watching and wondering what your peers are doing. At least you got an idea about that. So Kevin, again, not a lot of time. We got a lot of people over here who've deployed VDI. They got a
Absolutely.
good thing. So let's just real high level, if you don't mind. What is it?
Basically, it's just like virtual servers. You basically have all of your processor, all your memory, all your storage running in a data center, and all you're doing is viewing what that session is doing. The beauty of that is your desktop doesn't have to have any or very little compute power to be able to drive very large applications. So that's really what VDI is all about.
Okay, great.
So if we talk about why,
Right.
Why are people doing this? Number one, top of the list is security, because everything stays in the data center, never leaves, and all you're doing is viewing what it's doing. Security is perfect. You can't get it better. Ease of deployment. I mean, you can roll out, once we have your environment set up, you can roll out desktops in less than 20 minutes. I mean, you can do 10 desktops in 20 minutes.
Yeah, I think you're going to see that in the demonstration today, how easy it is to deploy this, and the next one, which is the management, how easy it is to manage all these desktops. We'll see that in the demonstration today as well.
Right, and also, access to corporate data, secure access to corporate data that never has to go outside of your data center. This is great for remote users. This is probably the biggest area that we have deployed is for people that hire now nationwide, because the talent pool is so big nationwide to get the right people, and now they can support them, give them access to that corporate data that we talked about. Disaster recovery. Down here, we're in South Florida, right? And believe it or not, hurricane season isn't that far off. People say, oh, I got a great, I'm 15 minutes recovery on my data. The problem is if you lose your office building, right? If you lose all your desktops, how are you going to get all those applications installed? So disaster recovery, consistency of your desktop. This is a big one that a lot of people, and flexibility. And what I mean by that, the client that you can use with VDI is limitless.
Yeah.
So
I think the other piece too that we're seeing a lot of the customers that are working with this too, we're seeing a lot more of you guys who are on the phone utilizing contracted workers. And, the ability to get a contracted worker or a temp worker or whatever it might be, a certain image on a desktop only can access.
With certain access, right.
Exactly. It's very interesting, and we're seeing a lot more of that use case.
So the pros and cons, like we talked about, standard image, centralized management, low cost of entry. Now with cloud, it doesn't cost anything to get in.
I like the way you spelled entry.
Oh, well, sorry about that. We did that. Sorry. Fast deployment, access from anywhere, and secure. And the cons is you are dependent on an internet connection.
Absolutely.
There's nothing you can do there. Graphic intensive applications are something that you got to be careful with. And if you're doing soft phones or voice communication,
something we have to look into.
Something you really got to be careful about.
And we got to make sure we test that. We're not saying it doesn't work. We're just saying that you got to make sure that you're testing that, really before you roll it out.
Well, there's nothing worse than having that lag in a voice conversation with a customer. So, you got to be careful. Personalization.
Yeah, this is a big one, right?
It is.
And people, the end users freak out if you move like a folder from one place to another. So now all of a sudden you're going to they don't want anything to change at the end user. So, if they do personalize the VDI, will it be safe? That's the big question.
Absolutely. Yes, 100%. Unless the corporation wants the desktop locked down. They want it in a certain look and feel for each one of the users. You have the option to go either way. And that's really the beauty of this. And you can do it not corporate-wide. You can do it by individual workstation. So it doesn't have to be.
Right. Champion, as you know, we're a managed service provider as well, and we like having set every desktop. We know exactly what the image looks like at the desktop, and when we're doing support, as you said before, it'd be great to have uniformity. But on the other hand, there is the opportunity to customize what each person's desktop would look like.
Right. So if it's standardized, the third button down on the left is the one you need. It makes it easier for those guys. All right. What do I use to connect to a virtual desktop? Well, for ours, it's a real easy connection. You use an RDP client or a remote desktop connection client. It can run on every client that I could think of. I mean, Windows, Android, iPad, iPhones, whether it's a Macintosh, whether it's a Zero client, whether it's Linux, it doesn't really matter. You can use anything that's out there today. So,
I know, Kevin, we've had people say, well, I got like an old PC XT. Can I use that as a device? I mean, I don't know if we can go back that far, but
believe it or not, I mean, with an RDP client, we only need a very, very small amount of processing power to be able to display what's running somewhere else.
So a great way to then prolong the life of the current investments that companies have in desktops. A lot of people are saying, hey, I need to move to Windows 10. I got to upgrade my hardware in order to do it. This might be one way to accomplish that without having to do a hardware refresh.
Absolutely. And if you need to depreciate them more and wait to buy either a thin client or a smaller desktop to run this, you can do that and really keep in your same depreciation schedule that you've used before. All right. So why now? Well, why are we talking about this, and why is it so hot all of a sudden? Well, the drawback was that it used to be really expensive. You used to have to buy servers, you had to buy storage, networking, access points, software, all these things, and then you had to know how to set it up, how to get it running, set up your access to those things. And now with the public cloud, all of that has changed. There's no upfront investment. You don't buy one server, you don't buy any storage, you use it and you pay for it as you use it. That's really the key to why the cloud is the perfect environment for
desktop. And we're seeing a lot of that right now, everybody on the phone, because I remember back in the day, it wasn't too long ago, we would be designing these VDI environments, and everybody was talking about boot storms, right? Like, oh, everybody comes in at 9 in the morning and we need to be able to build the infrastructure to handle this massive, everybody coming in surge at 9 o'clock, and even though you had this big spike, and then after 9 o'clock it would drop down to a level, but you still had to build an infrastructure, right, to handle that surge.
Right.
And but yet I was only for a little while, and then it would come off, and so the cloud and the way we architect those things, you don't really have to worry about that anymore. And the big thing too, right, is the cloud can handle a lot of that surge, right? That's what's great. The other thing too, we see a lot of people, right? They fire somebody, they hire 10 people, they fire 10 people. The great news is your infrastructure is not set, right? It can go up and can go down. It's almost like a breathing, living thing that you hire 200 people for 3 months. You don't need to buy infrastructure for just 3 months. You can go down. So that's why we're seeing such a huge, uptick these days in the cloud. Kevin, one thing that always comes up, and we remember, it used to be a real pain, was the printing. Now, we know that the printing was a thing. Tell me, with it being in the cloud now, maybe Patrick or you can answer, being in the cloud now, has printing become less of a hassle in a VDI environment, or is it eased off, or what's your thoughts on that?
Well, printing can be handled a couple of different ways. If you're using print servers in your corporation and you're printing to those print servers, there is nothing different between what a normal PC and a VDI is using. The big difference is if you have a USB connected printer where you have to plug one in, someone's working from home and they have a Canon or they have an HP or they have, one of these, that they went down to Office Depot and bought. Well, now there's actually 4 universal printers that print drivers that are loaded into each VDI session. And they support over 95% of all the printers sold today. So it makes that job of, believe it or not, driver management so much easier. So far, knock wood, we've been really lucky that our customers have all had printers that were supported underneath those 4 universal print drivers, 2 for black and white, 2 for color. So, and it really does work 95% of the time. So for those oddball, those old printers, we might have to load a driver in there for you, but that is not really the problem anymore. And now using Azure as our platform, and it really is the platform where everything runs, the ability to run your desktops closer to where your users are. As you know, Microsoft has hundreds of data centers all over the world now. So you can actually run your desktops closer to your users, cutting down latency and making performance seem like it's just like it always has been. So that was the other question that we get a lot from customers. So if we take a look at that, who's really leading the VDI vendors right now? And it's really the big three, right? We have VMware with their VMview or Horizon, or now Workspace ONE. You know, they always like to change their names. Citrix, which used to be Presentation Server, and now it's, believe it or not, just called Virtual Desktop and Virtual Applications. And now Microsoft, the big player in this, which, you know, let's be honest, everything runs on Windows. They've really made a huge investment now in virtual desktops and have made it really easy for people to use. So, yeah. And we work with all of these companies.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think it's important that, you know, Champion Solutions Group, MessageOps, we represent all three of these organizations, and we'll, you know, work with our customers to figure out what's the best solution for them.
Correct.
But you know, we are seeing a huge uptick lately, especially with Microsoft,
right,
and what they're doing. But once again, you know, we can work with all of them. So.
And really, the big difference between them is the protocol. You know, PC over IP with VMware. You got ICA, which is now called HDX. But Microsoft uses the RDP client, which is now RDP 4. So it's pretty comparable to all of these, and yet the price point is really so unique. Yeah, very attractive. So let's do a demo, Chris. Let's show them how this actually works. So we're going to go in here, and this is a live environment. This happens to be our demo environment. And as you can see, it's laid out pretty simply by we happen to have 3 different environments here. So to go into any one of these environments, all I have to do is log in. And basically what shows up is in the shortcuts, you can see the users that we have, the groups that have been designed, the shared mailboxes that we have, the server infrastructure that we have.
Right, and Kevin, just real quick, in the top left there, I see the Champion logo. So this is all customizable for the end user?
Oh yeah, this can be all done. This is as far up as it goes, Chris. Oh, okay. So, okay, VPN tunnels, I just wanted to talk about that. But what you also get here is the usage. So you can see exactly how many people are logged in, when they log in right here. You can see at 8 o'clock, this environment really takes off. And around 6, 7 o'clock, it really starts to die down. You get all that information. You get some quick logs here of who logged in when. So it's very simple to manage.
So Kevin, I also noticed here we have RDS and VDI over here. And
correct.
Can you just tell the viewers here what we're looking at?
All right. The difference between RDS and VDI, RDS is basically a shared operating system running on a server. So this would be Windows Server 2016 right now. We haven't rolled out 2019 yet, but that's okay. But it looks and feels just like Windows 10. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference, but it is a shared environment. So for those, you know, knowledge workers out there that use the standard like Office 365 products like Word and PowerPoint and Outlook, it's a great environment for those guys. And it's also a very low cost environment for those guys. VDI is a full-blown, your own operating system, Windows 10 Enterprise desktop, that for those power users that run a lot of applications at the same time, run bigger applications for a longer period of time, that need that extra resource, we have those available.
And I think it's important, right? So this is a great thing too. You do, as a user, have the flexibility to be running. You know, you can run VDI for a certain group of people within your organization that, like you said, Kevin, are the power users. And then you can run RDS for others that might not need the same power. So you do have the flexibility depending on the profile of your users of what, you know, desktop they need to actually be running. Sorry about that, Kevin.
No, absolutely. And, you know, you can get SSDs. So if you need, like, really fast data access to, you know, solid state storage, you can do that. So it's very configurable. So you can get exactly what your end users need. Here's just some more information on login patterns and so on. But if we go down here and we take a look at our users here, and I'll show you how easy it is to, first of all, manage users, but more importantly, add users to this environment. So you can see that we designed this as basically a demo environment, so we can show people we have Jane Doe and John Doe and so on. But to basically go in here, you can see that this is an RDS session, right? You can see that this happens to be a Windows session. So it depends upon which one you want. You can have either one. And to generate that login file, so what they did for me is they just clicked here. It was easy to configure. I want them to be able to use local printers. If I didn't, I just unclick this box.
Nice, simple.
So simple and easy. Allow them to copy and paste between their local machine and their desktop. So if you wanted them to cut and paste and be able to move data, but you can also turn that off also. Allow audio. You got to remember that's going to be bandwidth intensive if you start allowing audio. Access to local drives. This is a big one. If you turn that on, they'll be able to copy files from their VDI environment to the local drives on their PCs. So if you turn this on, you're allowing them to move data off of your secure environment. So very important one.
Security, whether or not you want that or not, that's absolutely important.
Right. Allow a local microphone to work from here. Now you can also allow published applications or remote apps, meaning applications that are running other places. And then to send them this configuration file, I can either download the file or I can email it right from here by just putting in an email address and hitting confirm.
Wow, that's pretty damn simple.
So simple to deploy.
Kevin, one thing that wasn't up there, I know we've had some questions about, what about multi-monitor support?
It comes out of the box with multi-monitor support up to 3. You can't go past 3. So just to let you know that, if you need more than that, it's not something that this one supports.
So I see Bob Billings here. He's got his emails, got the username. He's also got the level of Office 365 subscription, which is great.
Exactly. So if I went in here and created a new user, let me just show you. Let's show you the template that you use to do that. So if I go in here and I just put in Tom Jones, for instance.
The singer?
Yes, the singer. Gotcha. And he's swiveling. So in here, I just put J Jones, right, as his. We always use first initial last name here.
Tom Jones.
Oh, Tom Jones, J Jones. Well,
yeah.
He goes by J.
Oh, I did.
Yeah,
okay.
that's his thing. So here you can see that there are different. I can pick different domains that are here. So if you have multiple domains that you want, you can add your Office 365 license here. You don't have to, but if you want to have an E3 license and it's in your pool, if you have that, or an E5 license, it's very easy to click. If the desktop is RDS or VDI, remember we talked. Okay, we gave them an RDS, so we can actually pick the server if we have multiple servers out there.
So if there was multiple servers there, the admin has the right to pick which server
to pick the primary server that you want him to run on. But this will load balance over, if we have a lot on, or if we have a few people on, it will actually shrink the number of servers that we're using so that you consume less resource.
Wait a second. So it's smart enough to go ahead and scale up or scale down?
I'd love to say that we can take credit for that, but that's Azure. Okay. Azure has resource groups out there where you can add on the fly and shrink on the fly and make it optimal for your environment. Nice. So, and that's why, it's really important. I should have put his last name here, but that's easy enough. I'm sorry about that. You put his mobile phone number down here, username. Here we can allow him access to log in as an app right here. We can go in and just click this button, and now we can select the access that we want. We want to give him IT admin access, or we want to give him Tier 1 support access. We want to grant desktop local administration rights so that they can have administration rights. You just click here. Once you're done, you go down here and you say, if there's a template that you're using, let's say that you want them to have this certain background with your...
So if they had different, like if a salesman gets this certain setup, the management team gets this certain setup, the engineering gets this certain setup, so you can copy it from a template and apply it?
Apply it right from here. That way they get the right applications and everything else, and then all you do is hit save. Let me just change the name over here so it shows up right in our interface so you can see it. And by the way, and then I'll show you how easy it is to get rid of it. So once we walk through this, you hit save. And username Tom Jones has been added. Here's his temporary password, which we can just now send it with that file that I talked about. So what I usually do is I just copy it right from here, say OK. And now if we go back to our users here, Tom Jones should be here.
Coming up.
It's coming up. It might be on page 2.
Okay. So while
it's just taking a second to deploy here.
Taking a second to deploy. So could you deploy multiple at one time, or do you have to go through each one of each step like that, or can you do like a bulk upload if you wanted to?
That I'm gonna have Patrick answer that question because he's much better. He does this every day of his life. So Patrick, could you answer that question for Chris? Can you do like 10 of these at the same time?
Repeat one more time.
Can you add multiple users at the same time?
Yes. Once you start adding the user, it will go through a queued process and it will line up multiple users at the same time.
But I have to do what I just did 10 times for 10 users.
If you integrate to Active Directory, you would be able to import users in bulk.
Oh, okay, that'd be great.
That's what the question was. Thank you, Patrick.
Okay, great. So if you take a look here at the servers that are in this environment, just so you know what your environment is actually going to consist of, what Patrick just talked about here. There's an Active Directory controller in here that can sync with your Active Directory controller, so you're not having to maintain a separate schema or anything like that. There is a file server built into this environment so that you could do file sharing right here inside of your virtual environment. You have a proxy, which is an ADFS proxy to help sync that domain controller. You have a gateway for RDS, and you have our RDS server where everybody connects to right now, and you can have multiple servers in there. So this is the basic environment, that is set up for you when you do that. Now, if you need some networking, so for instance, if I click here, you'll see that if you guys want a firewall in front of this, not a problem. VPN connections, this is kind of important if you want your users to be able to access data in your data center. So let's say that you install an application where the database is sitting back in your primary data center or in another cloud provider somewhere that you want to allow access. We can set up a site-to-site VPN, and this way, when they connect to that application, it will connect to the data sitting wherever you tell us to put it. So very easy to do that. You can see that you can set up a backup and disaster recovery for this to move to different regions. You can do onboarding, all this bulk like Patrick was just talking about here. We can click on this and start adding bulk people from your domain controller. As you can see right here, it's pretty easy to do. All you do is set it up, you download the template, and you're off and running. So you can see it's not really that difficult to get this up and running. And like I said, auto scaling is a big piece of this. That's why the cloud has been so popular for virtual desktops, because it shrinks and it grows as you need it.
And I think that's the key piece, is that what we've seen that customers like is you can start off with a relatively small desktop, see how it works in the environment over time, and then if we enable the auto scale, it will the server environment will go ahead and spin up more processor, more memory in order to support the scaling that's going on, whether it's throughout a day, maybe it's busier during the mornings or maybe busier in the afternoons, but during the middle time, you can come down to something a little bit smaller of a server.
Or weekends and nights too. If no one's logged on, you're not consuming anything, you're not paying anything.
Well, like I said, we have a lot of people with call centers, right, who have 5,000 people during the middle of the day, but at nights they go down from 5,000 to 500 people at the call center. So again, an opportunity to monitor but more importantly, save money. And you don't even have to monitor it; does it automatically. Hell, the days of monitoring almost gone. I mean, it automatically does it for you.
And that's the key to this. You only pay for what you're using, and we make sure that when you're not using it, it's turned off and it's not running. So very important.
Do we want to take a second and just see?
Let's see, Patrick. You have any good questions that have been asked by the people out there?
Yeah, they started streaming in. I think the big question is got multiple on MFA. Right now it's Microsoft MFA only from what I understand. I know some other people were talking whether there is SSO using SAML authentication. That I would have to confirm. Other than that,
Okay. So the first one was, okay, so I just want to make sure I understand.
Multi-factor.
So the MFA, the multi-factor authentication, the question was, does the desktop as a service support MFA? Was that the question?
yes, and it does. But it supports
And it does.
Microsoft MFA currently as of right now. One of the questions was whether it supported their third-party Duo MFA, and that I'm not sure, but I have to circle back. But that was a good question that we will have to find out.
And Duo is Cisco, right? Is that correct? I think so.
I think it might be.
I think they bought Duo, if I remember, yeah.
And then you got Okta out there. There are other third parties.
Yeah.
But right now it's Microsoft MFA, and it does support that right out of the box.
Yeah. We'll look into the others. Okay.
Okay. What else you got for us, Patrick? Anything good?
A lot of them is just the Active Directory sync and Azure AD sync. Yes, it does not require a premise federated server. I know that was one of the recent questions, but it does sync with your Active Directory in regards to a domain trust, and then it uses AD Connect to get up into cloud with Azure AD and Office 365.
Okay.
But we saw
That's
a
a
lot
good
of
question.
questions in regards to whether it connected with Azure AD, whether it connected with LDAP or AD directly. So there was a lot of different questions coming around Active Directory synchronization.
Okay. All right. That's great. Good questions there.
All right. So, I mean, there's not much else here really to show. So we'll go back here to the presentation and next steps. So one thing that we're doing on this webinar is you could sign up for a 14-day trial. So what I'm going to do here is I got one more question for you that I'm going to post to you, and that is, would you like a 14-day trial? So I'm just going to ask the question right now, and there's no cost for the trial, just so you know. You get to play with it, see if it works for you, and we'll go from there.
Okay. That makes sense. And then, Patrick, how long does it take for those who are interested in a trial? How long does it take for us to spin up an environment for them?
For a full production environment, it takes about 3 days total in regards to standing it up in the Azure tenant, collecting all the pre-requirements, and doing our internal testing. Once we have the environment set up, it takes about maybe 20 minutes per user to be deployed.
Okay. Okay, great.
So it's pretty quick. In other words, they can have this up and running, play with it for 2 weeks, make sure it runs all the applications that they want to run in there, and then, we can go from there. So great. It looks like 65% of the people said yes on the trial, so thank you very much. We will absolutely be getting in touch with you. But please, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to call us, anytime to ask questions. We also offer a cloud assessment. So if you're looking to move to the cloud, not just desktops, but you're looking to move some of your environment or all of your environment up to a cloud, we've helped hundreds, if not thousands of clients move to the cloud and get them to, start utilizing the resources that are up there. And like Chris said, a lot of companies have enterprise agreements. And believe it or not, buried in the enterprise agreement sometimes is Azure dollars that people don't even know they have. So we've helped a lot of those type of customers put virtual desktops up in the cloud and consume those Azure dollars that they've already spent.
Yeah, that they've already paid for.
Yeah, they've already
paid the money. They're trying to figure out how to leverage Azure. And if you are one of them who have spent this money on an EA and included 50 grand worth of Azure commit, and you're trying to figure out what to do with it or how to best utilize it, we've seen a lot of your peers have taken advantage of desktop as a service and seeing how that works with them. And then the last one, Windows 10 upgrades. We're doing a ton of that right now, a ton of it. We have developed some very cool intellectual property that will reduce the amount of time it takes to deploy Windows 10 throughout your environment by up to 60% of what it would take normally with some special sauce that we've and
automation.
Yeah, all automation.
And that's really the key to this. It's really hands off once it's set up and running, it really is hands off.
It's good stuff, and we set it up in a real way that takes full advantage of Secure Boot and the others. So Patrick, if there's no more questions, we said we're going to keep it around 45 minutes. And just wanted to see if there's anything else you got from your end.
I know I have a few more questions coming in, a lot of good ones too. Getting to them as I can. I'm about maybe 5 minutes behind, so to speak. So if you guys want to hang out, I can still keep answering these questions and get as many in as possible.
Right. Is there anything, any common ones that we have out there that you might want to, just bring up while we got everybody on the phone?
Everybody's moving over to some in regards to cost now, and that's something that we can work with you on a per client basis, because we can do a basic calculator that will assist in regards to finding out that overall cost based upon your environment, because it would be specific to the type of environment and users you have in your office.
And just so you guys have a rough ball number, Patrick doesn't like to give out rough ball numbers, but I will. They start at around $25 for the entry level,
$25 a month.
A month, right.
But I think, the reality of it is too, we have a great calculator that will take 2 minutes to spit out what your anticipated monthly, your monthly fee would be for the desktop, for the Azure, the Azure Compute, the Microsoft licensing that are required, because there is a Microsoft license required.
Well,
right?
there is, and depending upon which desktop, you might need, you will need an RDP license or a remote desktop protocol license to access the desktop if it's running on a server, and a Windows 10 license if you're running VDI. Now, the beauty of that is you can now subscribe to Windows 10 licensing and enterprise subscription that runs in VDI, and that's very inexpensive. It's, you don't have to go out and spend $200 on a license. You can get it on a monthly price, $7, $8 a month for a Windows 10 license.
Yep. So we're not trying to be flippant about the pricing. What we really need to do is just run a quick calculation for you. We have a great configurator that will spit out that price, and your account manager can do that for you. But we can get your price a pretty damn good price for the whole environment.
Right.
All right. Can you use? I see a thin client. I see quite a few people asked about thin clients. The answer is yes.
Yeah, and pretty much anybody's. I mean, I don't care if it's APs or iGels or Wises. We've pretty much done all of them. They'll even run on 0 clients, and there are clients out there with no operating system, just having firmware and the RDP protocol embedded that actually works really well. So if you're looking for no management at the desktop, the 0 client is one of the options.
The only
question.
Can I add one more thing on that RDP one? It does require the newer RDP service that supports RD gateways in regards to this Daas offering.
Okay.
I saw that's great. Thanks, Patrick. I saw one from Angela Adam. What a great question that is. I'm sure. Does this work in conjunction with AD creating the user, or does this create the user in a separate space, and how would you add an existing user? Patrick, you want to answer that? You answered yes. AD Connect and Federated will sync premise AD to cloud AD, Azure AD, and Office 365. So
yes, the portal that we saw that was demoed by Kevin in regards to that user creation, it will create an on-premise AD account, it will create an Azure AD account, and it will create an Office 365 account, all in that one portal.
Excellent. So we make it, streamlining the onboarding process as easy as possible. Okay. All right. Well, look, we really appreciate, man, a lot of questions. Man, you
10Zig, yep, that's another thin client that's supported. I forgot them. Sorry, I saw it. We're just glancing through some of the questions here.
And Peter says, do we have a nonprofit discount? Peter, we'd love to talk to you about that, which we will, for nonprofits. And we'll go through there. What kind of licensing is involved? I think Angela, Kevin, you
yeah,
a lot of that.
we ran by that, but we'll answer any of those questions for you. Just give it a try. I know a lot of you have said yes to the trial. I think you'll see that it really works. Okay, in the template, is that where you define resources, CPU, RAM, disk? And the answer is yes. It also will support vDisks like Citrix. So you're talking about virtual disks?
Robert.
Robert, I'm assuming. So I'm not exactly sure what you mean by that, but it is, you do get storage inside each one of the VMs, but you also get access to a file server at the same time.
Okay, well, we're up on the 45 minutes. Want to keep it there, but we appreciate all the questions, a lot of them there. Patrick, looks like you earned your keep there, my friend. So we appreciate that. And from MessageOps and Champion, we appreciate all of our members who follow us and pay attention to our newsletters, our tips, and our tricks, and help us with the tool sets that we've developed and bring to market. So thank you all very much.
And just to let you know, we will be sending out the presentation to everyone who was on here. We also recorded this whole webinar, so we'll be sending you a link to it. If you want to share it with your colleagues or you have any questions, please get a hold of us.
All right, cheers. Thanks a lot, Patrick. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.